up? It's your girl, Sasha Banks, the legit boss. You are watching Going In Raw. You like that?
Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you'll be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, stay live at Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Bad news, or good news, depending on who you are and which one of us you like and you're here for. I'm quitting.
I might quit too.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Raw, Going In Raw, at least the Raw recap, I like SmackDown and stuff, is currently up for auction. This slot right here.
Maybe this
the
one
Raw
too.
Monday show. For at least my frame, possibly Larson saying his too, because they did the thing that I said I would quit over. They did it. The Miz got the Money in the Bank. Go ahead.
Let me ask you something. So back when Carmella won Money in the Bank, that's when she had Ellsworth. So when she cashed in, did she actually run down and hand the briefcase to the ref to cash in, or was he involved in that in any respect?
I mean, that's a damn good question.
I don't recall. Nonetheless, it wasn't like Morrison cashed in the briefcase unknowingly. You know what I mean? Miz was right there. He was. It's. Okay. So
I'm looking.
She did.
I'm looking at this. She gave it to him. I'm assuming, and this is a huge assumption to make, a massive assumption, that somebody in WWE did their continuity work and went back and made sure that no precedent had been set in terms of somebody else cashing in. But there's been a lot of cash-ins over the years.
That was just the only time, or at least most recent example of someone, having someone else maybe potentially hand the briefcase over. Nonetheless, it's not a situation where, again, as I was saying, Morrison did it without the Miz's knowledge. Miz was right there. Just the fact that Morrison was the one that physically handed the briefcase over to the ref should be immaterial. It was like.
Let me ask you this.
Hold on. What if, for example, when Lesnar had the briefcase, if Heyman was the one to hand over the briefcase to the ref and declare he's cashing it,
he is.
Would that be null and void even if he won? Then
it's the representative of the person. He's the representative. I don't know. I am kind of curious if this was something that was decided in advance of TLC. Miz would cash in, but hey, we can do it over. Or if this is something after the cash in, because according to WrestleVotes, there are all sorts of, that they had been trying to come up with scenarios where Miz would cash in. Yeah. And Vince didn't like any of them. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this was in advance of TLC, and then they were like, yeah, we can just get it back on him because who cares, right? Ricky Scurry's putting up polls now on our Twitch. Anyways, so yeah, okay. So that out of the way.
Hold on. I'm watching Lesnar cash in. Heyman handed the briefcase to the ref.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cashed in on Seth, and Heyman wasn't actually. Heyman was the one who actually physically gave the briefcase to the ref.
I guess maybe because no stink was made, then they didn't do that. Maybe Heyman is his official representative. Maybe that's why he's got his what do you call it? Power of attorney, perhaps. So I'll put it this way: I don't necessarily mind the specific way they did it. I kind of actually like that Scrap Iron came around the corner and said, hey, you know what? Fair is fair. According to the bylines or whatever, this is yours again. After Miz suffered a defeat against Gran Metalik, who is a terrific competitor, and that kind of bugged me that they, compared him to Kevin Federline.
Yeah.
I just, the Miz now with the briefcase, we're just running it back to endless Miz TVs where he drones on and on and on and on and on. I don't know where it goes from here, man. I mean, hopefully they get it into somebody else's hands. I mean, at this point, it's like, dude, I wanted to be done with Money in the Bank at this point. Just
I know.
put it off again.
They're
until
souring Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. Something that, for the most part, has been fun. Again, for the most part. There's been times where it has been, but for the most part, it's been fun.
They're running it into the ground. It's like a guy who just won't stop at the same joke over and over again, which I've been guilty of plenty of times.
Well, then no one like Miz is a believable champion. If he were to successfully cash in, I'm not going to believe him as champ.
I don't believe him against Sheamus. I don't believe him against Keith Lee, and I certainly don't believe him against Drew McIntyre. Just none of it makes sense. He lost tonight against Gran Metalik, a guy they compared to Kevin Federline.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. I think it's wild.
Oh, AJ Styles, like Miz couldn't beat AJ Styles at this point either. There's a long list of people on Raw that if you score off against the Miz in the ring, like I don't believe the Miz is going to win.
The way he is booked at this point, he is not believable to beat basically anybody. He belongs in the 24/7 division because he's not even like all that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he is crafty, given that he got the damn thing back. But
there's crafty and there's just like publicly throwing a fit.
Yeah.
You know.
Otherwise, I'll be honest with you, man. So I don't know. I'll put off quitting Raw for right now, anyways, unless we receive some really great offers in our comments on YouTube. So leave a comment with your best offer for this.
So far, $8 is top offer. So
all right. Otherwise, I comparatively speaking, and we're talking about
the bar was set really low last week.
A really low bar, a very low bar. Raw wasn't bad this week.
It was all right.
That was okay.
Right. It's all right. There's some stuff to like.
Start off with a decent match. Let's talk about this really quick before we get into the actual meat of the show, because a lot of people were buzzing about that ending, the cliffhanger ending.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think about that? Randy Orton lights the match. He's maybe going to set her on fire as the Fiend's light show sort of enters its intro with the coming down.
Here's I wouldn't have thought about this, but someone in chat mentioned it before we got started. So Raw Talk immediately follows Raw on the network. And my apologies for not crediting this individual, mentioned that on Raw Talk, you could see the ring in the background looked like there had been a fire in it.
Yeah, right.
So to keep up the illusion or the mystery of it, like lower the lights
yeah,
in the ring area so you don't know. Follow through.
Yeah, dude, I know. That's honestly way too much to ask. It really is. At this point, way too much to ask.
You know what? I understand why you say that. At the same time, it's a very basic thing. You end the show on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is keep the house lights down. Just bring up the lights, the studio lights you use to light the set of Raw Talk.
It's the most basic thing to ask.
All you have to do.
One person should look at this and say
the mystery that you set up at the end of your show, because as a cliffhanger, it's evocative. It's like, oh, did he do it?
One person should look at that and say, this is the ring that this just happened in. It's a big cliffhanger. Shouldn't we bring that down? I don't know if people are just checked out there or if there's literally a decision-making process where somebody's like, nah, we got to keep it up because Vince likes how it looks.
But it's just, it may seem like a small thing, but it's like, okay, I see the ring back there. No, like anything got lit on fire in there, so he must not have done it. All right, mystery solved. I don't have to tune in next week. The whole point of the cliffhanger is so you tune in next week to see what happened.
Yeah. Or Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah. But if they ruin the mystery in their post show, clear as day, no mystery.
I actually dug the cliffhanger aspect of it. I'll be honest. It wasn't bad. I know a lot of people thought today that was crap. I kind of dug it. I've actually been open about this. I think we shot. What did we do the thing? We did. I think it was on one of our bonus episodes where we talked about how to get ratings up. And one of my ideas was more cliffhangers. I really enjoyed the last time they did a cliffhanger. It had something to do with Drew McIntyre and somebody, Orton. Oh, probably Orton. Yeah, they're about to square off or something. And they went and they just ended right when they were going to have some action.
Oh, it was Hell in a Cell. The go home to Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Orton was inside Hell in a Cell and Drew was on the outside.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I liked it. I thought it reminded me of Nitro. Nitro had some cool. They had some cool conventions that they would stick by, and one of them was cliffhangers. And it really did get me to want to tune in again. I thought that this could have been done in a slightly different way, corresponding with him lighting the match, and then one set of lights goes down, and he sort of takes each additional step maybe until maybe he lights the match. Like it's a sequence of events where the Fiend is like, oh, do it again, and I'm on my way, and then the light comes down. So I think, but they got that general idea across. So yeah, I liked it as a cliffhanger. I mean, the Raw Talk thing, I get you. I think that for WWE, when I say it's too much to ask, you know how I mean that. Like, it's WWE. Somebody there doesn't ask the right questions sometimes, and it's irritating, but it's like, that's just what we're stuck with, you know. It'd have been great if they had like some sort of like, you know, burn decal they could put in the middle of the ring. That would have been cool. Or like you said, preserve the mystery, kill the lights. They do plenty of stuff on Talking Smack and Raw Talk that, you know, like for example, Paul Heyman when he's on Talking Smack.
Yeah, he's great.
You know, they continue all sorts of threads, you know, with him and Kevin Owens, him and Kayla, Big E. Yeah. All sorts of stuff carries over. It would be nice to see that with a little touch like this. But you know, it is what it is. Yeah, I liked that. I thought it was a pretty effective way, Randy Orton figuring out, hey, this is gonna get the Fiend back, and we'll really see if I did away with him, because I feel like I did. I thought that was kind of a cool component to the story. So I'll be honest, I kind of like that.
Yeah, and like the kind of the undercurrent of the whole thing was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Him trying to see if he can draw the Fiend back out, or if this is all just a ruse, or if Alexa's just, you know, kind of mad at this point. Who knows? Yeah.
I thought her performance stuff is so good. I mean,
she's been great.
It's like a one-man show out there sometimes, you know. She's out there just doing a monologue or whatever. I think it's pretty cool stuff. Let me go ahead and send out the Steve notes to the new Twitch subs.
There's one last kind of macro thing we could talk about before we get into the nitty-gritty. We have a new number one contender for WWE Championship.
True, we do.
His name is Keith Lee. He defeated Sheamus in the opening bout. More on that later. This match does not happen at the Royal Rumble, though. It happens next week on Legends Night. Excited for that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not excited for the Legends aspect. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre.
No, I meant
match.
Legends Night. I meant Legends Night. The match would be really good, but Legends Night as a whole.
I mean, we you know how this goes. Some mildly amusing gags from some old timers that waste time and is more awkward than not, given how advanced most of their ages really are at this point. No, I'm not. I don't care. I'd rather have a regular episode of Raw, but whatever.
Yeah, I'd rather have a
like Stone Cold's not going to be there, so what do I care?
A well booked, well paced, interesting episode of Raw than any Legends, really.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, look, if the match is heading into the Rumble, if it's a triple threat between these three,
that's what I'm thinking too.
Might be the case. At the Rumble. I'm totally cool with that. I think these three could put on a match that's just as fun as that TLC match with Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, and The Miz when he cashed in. Or so we thought.
Or so we thought, yeah. Anyways, let's get to the details here. The show kicked off with a card in memory of John Huber, Luke Harper in the WWE.
Our news beef today that's available right now wherever podcasts are and on our YouTube channel. We talk about him for the first chunk of the show. So if you want to hear about
17 or so minutes, yeah. And then Tom Phillips opens the show by saying, "It's Monday. You know what that means." A phrase that Drew McIntyre used as well once he's made his way out to the ring. He kind of recaps his year, winning the Rumble, beating Brock, losing title, getting it back from Randy. Thanks to the fans. Says they really rallied behind him. Mentions that he's defending title next week on Legends Night against either Keith Lee, Sheamus. This brings Sheamus out. He's like, "Hey, sorry for interrupting." And Drew goes, "No, you're not. I know what you're going to say. You're going to talk about what happened after the match last week." Sheamus said, "Yeah, I kept my word, though. You said, you know, no BS during the match. After the match, fair game." Sheamus talks about that he and Drew had a dream to be in WWE, to be champions. Now they're 1 week away from facing each other for the WWE title. Sheamus is super excited about it. And he says once he mows through Keith Lee, it's going to be the two of them. They're going to start 2021 the right way. They're going to smash each other up. This brings Keith Lee out. He says, "Well, this is cute. Two best friends, a former champ, one current." Says, "Drew, you look awfully proud of your friend." And of course, in reference to Sheamus bro-kicking Keith Lee last week following the bout. Drew says no. Ali says, Drew, you vouch for Sheamus that I could trust him. Now there is zero trust. None. Your word is just as good as Sheamus's. And Lee tells Sheamus that every fiber of his being wants to beat his face in and force an apology out of him. However, he's not going to do that. He's going to wait till the bell rings. And he tells Drew to reconsider who are your friends because Sheamus might end up stabbing you in the back too. And Sheamus gets mad. Says, the reason I kicked you is because you've been going around telling people I've betrayed my best friend.
That's a good point, actually, from Sheamus.
It is a good point.
That's solid motivation right there. What the heck, man? You're just going around accusing me of doing something. I haven't done anything.
Yeah. And so Drew steps in between him, tries to calm things down. It's like, hey, let's get the match started now, ref. Come on. Hey, regardless who wins tonight, I'm going to beat either of you next week. And so as soon as he's done talking, Sheamus hits Lee with a bro kick and then another.
Well, Keith turns to Drew and says, what the hell did you just... And right as he says that, he eats a bro kick. He goes to the ground and then he eats another bro kick right as the ref is getting in there.
Yeah.
So
we go to commercial, we come back. Yeah.
And then we get that. Sheamus works Keith Lee's arm in this. Another really fun match between these two guys. Individually, Sheamus has been on a tear lately with some really, really fun matches. Keith Lee is always a joy to watch. Sheamus in 2020 is going to the top turnbuckle and coming off, crashing to the floor onto Keith Lee with like a double axe handle. And he looked, I'm not going to say terrified because I don't think the guy was terrified, but he was uneasy up there. But he's doing it, man. I mean, Sheamus is putting in the work in these matches. He's been so much fun to watch lately. There was like 4 minutes of match. That took us to a commercial cliffhanger. Out of the commercial, Keith Lee takes over, pounces Sheamus, who is back up coming out of the air, does like a great one-arm spine buster, looks for a spirit bomb, doesn't get it, hits a shoulder tackle for 2, a fun splash, gets 2 on that. Sheamus gets him up for a white noise, which was awesome. And there's one great part where Keith Lee grabs Sheamus's wrist, and you can see Sheamus like start to very carefully call a spot under his breath. I love that. I love catching that. It's hilarious. And then in the end, though, Keith Lee hit a spirit bomb for the win. I didn't right before this. I think I got distracted. Was there any shenanigans here at the very end with the Okay, it was just straight up win.
Straight up win
with Keith Lee. Okay.
Yeah. And so afterwards, Keith rolls out of the ring, and he and Drew have a nice, pleasant chat over their, talking about their match next week. Involve Drew holding up the title. So, anyways, next we see Elias backstage. He's noodling on his guitar. Jackson Riker's bobbing his head along.
He's
to the
vibing
music.
with it, man. He's into it.
He is. Yeah. So there's a knock at the door. Riker's about to get up to answer. Elias tells him to ignore it. Continues playing. Then we have the Miz versus Gran Metalik. We have a brief Lucha House Party promo in advance. Lindsay is saying Miz trying to get his Money in the Bank briefcase back about his useless ass, and he can't think of the next phrase. Gran Metalik says, as useless as Miz's acting career. And Lindsay Prince says Gran Metalik's going to win, which you did.
Yeah. Gran Metalik, man. I really wish they knew how to use their luchadors better because he is absolutely terrific. Lindsay Dorado's terrific.
Yeah.
Miz obviously suffering from some confidence issues here.
Putting it mildly. So he takes that L. It's a great bit early on where Metalik is trying for all sorts of roll-ups and pinning combination. And Miz coming out to the ring, he looks like he's a wreck to begin with.
Yeah.
He has to kick out of 6 or 7 pinning combos. Eventually, he gains control of the match. In the end, though, Metalik hits a corner boot and then reverses a powerbomb into a sunset flip to get the win.
After that, we had AJ Styles comes running up into Elias's music room. Says Almost is back there trying to listen to his music. And you're interfering with that. Elias sort of looks at Riker and he clowns AJ for not getting the job done at TLC. AJ says, "No, man, we're going to go out to that ring and I might break your fingers so your career is going to be done early and no one has to listen to you play." But before that match happened, we had Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is improving in the ring. I do love it's funny because commentary, like if a dullard like me has already noticed that Dana Brooke has solved the mystery of the elbow pin,
the arm stomp.
This is like 8 times now she's done this.
They finally caught on to it though.
Commentary, I don't know. Commentary still, they still get surprised. Oh, she got out of it. but then she never has a decent follow through. She tries for the roll up, but Shayna has scouted that already.
Yep.
And in this situation, she was able to drape that arm over the apron, do some joint manipulation, whack that thing over the apron, and then she did some more. She was really bending that wrist all sorts of different places. I don't know how that works. But let's see here. Dana gets out of that via jawbreaker, comes back with a one-arm lariat. She's staging a pretty good comeback, but Shayna ends up choking her out. On the outside, Shayna goes after Mandy. Dana helps Mandy escape, tries to get her finish on Shayna, but that's countered. Hits a really cool-looking spinning neck breaker for 2.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah, I thought that was like that could be a cool finish.
That's a really cool move.
Dana goes up top though, misses, eats a knee, taps out to Shayna Baszler, and then after the match, as Mandy is checking up on Dana Brooke, Shayna sneaks up and puts Mandy in the clutch.
Next, Alexis Playground. She says she hasn't seen Bray since the Inferno match. Maybe he's waiting for Legends Night. He'd love to meet his hero, Hulk Hogan. Apparently, she says Bray has been taking his vitamins and saying his prayers, though she doesn't want to know who he's been praying to.
Ooh,
says it could be waiting for Randy to come back to the playground. So she asked Randy to come on down. So Randy's music plays, no Orton. That happens again. And then Orton finally shows up on the Tron in the Firefly Funhouse. So he walks in through the front to the door, and he's like, "Hey, I know Bray's not here. I'd figure I'd take advantage of the Funhouse being empty to look around." And so he sees Huskus, and he's like, "Oh," he goes and kicks him and says, "Oh, I thought he'd be heavier." And then he takes Mercy, chucks Mercy into Abby. And this whole time he's like, you really think the Fiend is coming back? And he says, well, if the Fiend does come back, he'll come back to nothing except you. And he says, to show her how demented I am, I'm going to make sure that the Fiend has nothing to come back to. And meanwhile, he grabs Rambling Rabbit, rips his head off. And then Alexa finally tells him to stop, challenges Randy to meet her in the ring later. And Orton says, oh, this is where the Fiend is supposed to return, huh? All right, I accept.
He's got it scouted out. After that, we had a brief Charlotte interview with Charlie. She basically says, I'm betting on myself. Asuka comes in and says Nia isn't ready for Charlotte. After that, we had a pretty lengthy, pretty decent match between Elias and AJ Styles. We have our commercial cliffhanger with Elias taking Styles to the outside, throwing him into a post. He hits a Meteora on Styles from the top rope. Takes over. Riker tries to... so Elias throws AJ out of the ring. Riker tries to get at him, but almost runs him off, and Riker falls to his butt. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Back in the ring, AJ sets up for a clash. Elias gets out of it. He hits a drift away. When's the last time anybody kicked out of a drift away?
I feel like
that's a pretty strongly booked move.
I kind of feel like he's one more with the elbow than the drift away, but I could be wrong.
Styles kicks out of that, and then Elias eats a phenomenal forearm.
They're burying his finish. What can I tell you?
They buried the finish, man. That drift away, strong stuff. But he eats a phenomenal forearm for 3. And then we get a recap from last Monday's Raw Talk with Ricochet very emotionally saying
yes,
he doesn't want to be the one people walk over anymore.
Yep. Next, we had a really fun match between Ricochet and Mustafa Ali. Before that, though, Ali with the promo says Ricochet needs to change. He's only one man can't change anything. Says accept them as allies or accept the future of suffering. So Ricochet is off to a fast start. Ali puts the brakes on that after tossing Ricochet into a turnbuckle. He goes on a run. He goes up top. Ricochet hits a couple shots. So Mia Yim and Shane Thorne, Reckoning and Slapjack get on the apron to distract the ref. Meanwhile, T-Bar, Dijak, Mace, Dio Madden toss Ricochet off the top rope into the barricade. And then Ali follows with a splash to the floor.
Yeah.
Go to commercial, come back. Ali hits this great draping backstabber, gets a 2 on that, maintains the upper hand till Ricochet escapes the suplex, pushes Ali to the corner, hits a back elbow kick. That flipping German suplex thing he did was insane.
Oh my gosh.
Ricochet won this
freaking
stretch
strength
where he just did all sorts of amazing athletic feats. So there's that. He looks for a Benadryller. His back gives out because Ali was working over the midsection. He finally hits it. He goes for the cover. Mace pulls Ali out of the ring. So at that point, Retribution surrounds the ring. And then within like 15 seconds, he does the following things. He DDTs Dijak right to the floor.
That was so nasty. That was
It
great.
looked like he kind of grazed the apron, about to spike his head directly on the mat.
I know.
Shane Thorne eats a drop kick. Ricochet evades Mace. He drop kicks Mustafa Ali into the ring post, DDTs Mace to the floor. He tosses Ali back into the ring. He goes up top, goes for a 450. But doing all that stuff allows Ali to get a chance to recuperate. He gets the knees up, locks in the Koji clutch. Ricochet passes out. Afterwards, Ali grabs the mic, asks Ricochet when he's going to learn that he has no chance, but it'll give him a chance to erase all his regrets, the chance for a new beginning, tells him to join Retribution. Ricochet snatches the mic for him, says he's made a decision. I will.
I will. He says, I will.
I will.
Not.
No, I was doing the pause there, the long pause.
Yeah.
I will
not
join.
Not.
It's like he's watched Maury when he's doing the paternity test reveals.
It's the Borat bit.
He is not the father, that kind of stuff. Anyways,
his suit is not gray.
He hits Ali with a recoil, rolls out of the ring. Really fun match.
Yeah, no, I like this stuff, man. I think, everybody's given it their all in this feud. So yeah, that's cool stuff. They'll probably continue this storyline in the actual Rumble match. Mm-hmm. After that, we had a Nia Jax interview with Charlie. I did not see what happened here. Can you sum this up here?
She just said, "Yeah, I watched
my
Charlotte's
ribs
interview from earlier. Charlotte's smart to be afraid of her. She's got New Year's resolutions too. It's one thing Charlotte mentioned. She's going to end Charlotte's climb to the top, get the tag titles back where they belong, and enter the Women's Rumble, win that, and face Women's Champ." And then Shayna, who was with Nia, so they both leave. Shayna walks back in and says, "Yeah, I kind of like that last idea as well."
Hey, let me ask you something. Let's back up a second.
All right.
How do you think this Ricochet Retribution thing is going to end up? They should do. What if Ricochet tells Ali, listen, I will join you, but if I do, it's just you and me. Ditch these other losers because they suck. And he gives him an ultimatum. That's a hell of a tag team right there. If they actually focus them as a tag team, that would be a hell of a tag team.
Remember those 3 weeks that Gable and Ali were a tag team?
Yeah.
They could have been a really good tag team, too.
Do I remember that? No, I don't remember that at all. I remember that. I remember when Ricochet and Cedric were a cool tag team that had a name on Twitter, but then they didn't have a name.
Yeah.
And then they had and then MVP.
It was Two-Fly Crew, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then MVP. Wasn't MVP? He wanted to rep Shane Thorne and that big Brendan Vink.
Brendan Vink, yes.
He wanted to rep them instead of
that lasted a week.
That was weird. That was so weird.
It was really weird. A lot of weird.
So
next, we had Drew McIntyre. He's backstage. He's got an interview. Says he's excited for next week. Keith stepped up. That's what he's most excited about. He might not have been excited about what happened over the last couple of weeks, Keith Lee, that is, but he saw the look in Keith Lee's eyes. He's ready. Says it's time for Lee to prove what he can do. Says when Keith Lee is motivated, he can beat anybody in WWE except Drew McIntyre.
On his best day.
Next, Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax. Nia was going after Charlotte's arm, the one she kayfabe hurt 6 months ago, whatever. Charlotte boots her out of the ring. A lot of back and forth. In the end, though, Charlotte looks for a figure four. Nia boots her off. Shayna tries to get involved for the second time. Asuka charges towards her. And unlike last time when Asuka hit Shayna with a spinning back fist, Shayna kind of dodges and tosses her into the announce table. Meanwhile, in the ring, Charlotte's looking for a figure four. She locks it on. Shayna runs in, puts her in the clutch. So DQ, Charlotte wins. So they're beating up on Charlotte a little bit. Asuka comes in to make the save.
Yeah. Backstage, Hurt Business bullies another idiot. After that, Angel Garza has an interview with Charlie. And she's like, so how would you describe, he's walking around just with a random flower, a rose. She's like, how would you describe your first year on Raw? He says, well, the new year is almost, he said he starts making sort of like, I guess, sexual kind of references. Like it's go up and then down and then I swipe left and right or something like that. And he's like, but the new year's almost here. Maybe I'll introduce myself to one of the legendary female superstars next week. And then Charlie's like, okay, well, who's the rose for this week? And then he says, a gentleman never tells. And then right as he says that, the 24/7 division runs through and the rose gets all mangled. And then he gives the mangled rose to Charlie.
And says, it's the thought that counts.
It's the thought that counts.
Next, had this really awkward. Well, towards the end, it was awkward, especially. So it's New Day and Matt Riddle backstage. Hardy walks in, congratulates Kofi and Xavier Woods on Big E winning the Intercontinental title. And Woods says, "Yeah, once we get our tag titles back, they'll take a picture of all three of them, or raise their titles and touch tips."
Yeah, that was actually
and then Riddle says, "Hey, we got a duo here," and everybody's like, "No, there's four of us." Well, two duos, okay. So I had a name.
Yeah, Woods tried to cover for him and say double duos.
Double duos. So he suggests the Little Bronies. And Wood is like, "No, that's already taken." Because he's like, bros and stallions and all that kind of stuff. So Woods then, says that's taken. Riddle says the Positively Hard Bros.
It's
terrible.
Goes over like a fart.
It's terrible.
One of the ones that, what did Hardy come up with? Hardy came up with a funny one, I thought. At the very end.
Yeah, he kind of mumbled it, yeah.
One of them was, what was the pancakes one? Baked pancakes.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Baked pancakes. That was actually kind of funny stuff.
That's kind of funny. That part's kind of funny. Then we get a 8-man tag match. New Day, Riddle, Jeff Hardy taking on the Hurt Business. I kind of feel like Jeff Hardy should not be in the ring opposite Bob Lashley anymore, because when he does, he just eats a Hurt Lock.
Yeah,
it's science at this point,
dude. Just go to the kayfabe whiteboard. Take your name out of anything near Lashley. Start
erase
fresh.
Jeff, put your brother's name or something.
Yeah, all you do is eat Hurt Locks, dude. Come on now.
Yeah.
I was hoping, given that Xavier Woods was sporting a Brody Lee armband, and at one point towards the finish,
discus clothesline, yeah,
he hit and Phillips called it the Harper clothesline. And then he immediately gets a tag to Jeff Hardy, who hits a swanton. I figured that'd be it, but then Lashley comes in, breaks it up, and then we head to the actual finish, which was really fun. Like, everybody starts laying on everybody with knees and kicks and everything.
It was a really fun finish.
But then in the end, Bob Lashley gets that Hurt Lock on. Jeff Hardy is not getting out of that.
No chance.
Taps out.
That's at least the third time that Jeff Hardy has just found himself in that Hurt Lock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
At least the third time.
Consecutively. It's been consecutive weeks.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or at least 3 out of the last 4. So probably the low point of the show is next. Miz and Morrison are pouting in a stairwell.
Well, hold on. After that match, though, this is kind of great. Riddle goes up to Lashley and drills him with a knee, and then the faces all run away laughing. They just took the L. And Lashley basically no-sells the running knee. But, anyways.
So Miz and Morrison are pouting in a stairwell. Morrison tries to cheer up the Miz. Then Adam Pearce just rolls up and says, "Hey, you two look miserable, almost as miserable as the Browns looked yesterday."
Ouch.
And then he just unveils that Money in the Bank briefcase. And then he says, "You know what, Miz, you're right. Only the briefcase holder can cash it in. It's yours."
So as of now, because of this, I'm a man of my word. I am now the interim host, the interim co-host of Going in Raw Recap Edition.
Okay.
So until we find a proper replacement for me, I will be the interim co-host.
So send your resumes in, I suppose.
Send your resumes in. Send your
headshots,
reels. And your resume. We'll hit up Billy Kay. Maybe she'd be interested.
Yeah.
I want to see some audition reels.
Good.
At Real Going in Raw, so that me and you, because you're going to have a new co-host, assuming you're going to stick around too.
There's got to be. Well, that's a massive assumption, but assuming I do, it's got to be chemistry.
There's got to be chemistry.
Like, I got to be able to work with this person.
So preferably
have some chemistry.
Get like a broom and then put like a picture of Larson's face on it, and then banter with the broom.
There you go.
If you have chemistry with the broom,
talking to a broom. I have less charisma than a broom. Should be a piece of cake for you.
You should be great. You should be spot on.
Should be fine. Anyways, your mic's don't touch your mic. It's buzzing when you touch.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
Don't touch your mic.
I won't do that again.
So anyways, we talked about this extensively ever since they kind of teased this is going to happen. This is lame, terrible. This cheapens the whole Money in the Bank endeavor. It's really upsetting. Maybe if it was on someone that was interesting or booked strongly, like AJ Styles, I'd be more into it. But with the Miz Money in the Bank briefcase, I just want Money in the Bank to be done with till June or May when they do it again.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just don't care. I don't care. I don't take Miz seriously. I don't care.
I don't, dude. I am honestly. Here's my thing. It has less to do with Miz and the cashing in stuff. You know what it is for me? I do not want to see another goddamn Miz TV ever. I am so sick of it. It's so boring. It stops raw. There was no Miz TV tonight, and guess what? Wasn't a bad show. I mean,
Miz's participation was what, 5 minutes in total?
Minimal.
His match against Gran Metalik was short.
Minimal.
Fairly minimal.
It kills me that John Morrison is such a diamond in the. I mean, in he went out for what, 9 years, 8 years, or whatever, and was the headliner at every promotion he went to. And he comes back to WWE, and they have him as basically Miz's henchman. And you see him in the ring, and he's still amazing. He still does really great things.
He might be better now than he was when he left.
I think you're right. I think he probably is. And it's like, you see it every time he's in the ring. He makes everybody looks like $1 million. He sells like a madman. And he's a sidekick. It's terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible. We got our main event segment. Alexa Bliss, she comes down the ring, just waves out Orton. Randy walks out, asks where the Fiend is. Alexa says it's not about him, it's about her. So she walks out of the ring, walks over to the timekeeper area, and there's a present sitting there, a gift. So she takes it, brings it in the ring, opens it, and inside is a gas can, same gas can that Orton used to light the Fiend on fire in a box of matches. So she walks up to Orton, puts those two things at his feet, kicks the box out of the ring, and then challenges Orton to do to her what he did to the Fiend, and lays down the middle of the ring. She wants him to light her on fire. So Orton doesn't do it. She gets up, takes the gas can, pours a trail from where Orton is standing to the middle of the ring, tells Orton, I did the job for you. Now do what you did to the Fiend to me. Then she lays down the small little puddle of gas, yells at him to do it. He doesn't. So she gets back up, gets the gas can again, pours a wider circle in the middle of the ring. And she just says, you're not going to do it, are you? Says, you don't have the guts to do it. You're not sick or twisted or demented. But because if you were, he would light that match. Instead, he calls him a little bitch.
You're a little B.
And then, so Bliss then pours the entire contents of the gas can over her head. And Orton says, you think I won't do it? And he bends over and he picks up the box of matches. And Orton says, I won't do it because I know you want me to do it. And she wants to see the Fiend. Maybe he will set her on fire. Maybe, and lights start coming down. It gets all dark, and Orton lights the match, and he's illuminating his face in the darkness. And he's just standing there holding the match as it starts to burn down the matchstick. And then lights go off again, and then that was the end of the show. Or it cuts to black, I think.
So there you go. There's Raw for the week. Let's take some questions. I've got a thread right here on the Patreon. First up, let's see here. James Fletcher, with even Vince paying his tribute to Brody Lee, do you think this proves there could eventually be a harmonious relationship between WWE and AEW? No, I think certain things transcend business relationships. I mean, this is a man's life and a family, and
exactly. Brew Crew Bomber with the sub. Thank you very much. And Robert Channel says, main roster Keith Lee can't have a great match. He literally does nothing that got him over. He was doing boring 80s big man matches now.
Hard disagree with that one. That's a hard disagree for me. I think Keith Lee is terrific. Andrew Jocelyn. Oh, sorry. That's more of an AEW question. We already Andrew, just hit up our Friendo Mailbag for the answer to that question from today from the earlier show, and you can hear all our thoughts about Brody Lee.
Tony V says Miz should take some pre-match Nugenics.
You know what? That does bum me out. I was listening to one of the Conrad episodes. It was from like a 94 something or other, 94 or 95. I don't know. Survivor Series, I think. And they were talking about how I think they were talking about karate fighters, how they had sponsored WWE for about 3 years running. And Pritchard was talking pretty extensively about how that relationship worked, why it worked, why they stuck around during those lean years. and all the WWE had to offer them. And it just made me think about, how WWE would go over and above and beyond with those sponsorships and integrate them into their program. Why don't they do the same thing with Nugenics? Nugenics needs to become like one of the official sponsors.
Well, it's because I think Nugenics
WWE.
just buys TV time.
They do,
through
but I
USA
want to
Network,
see.
whatever. Okay, yeah.
I want to see a more, some of these guys. Oh, it's a Nugenics challenge. These guys have been on Nugenics now for 6 weeks. Let's see who can win in a real fight.
All right. Raw Underground, sponsored by.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Bring it back. The Nugenics Underground.
There you go. I think Jer Bear with the sub. Thank you very much. Says, I love you guys. Thank you very much.
Blake Whitehouse says, who would benefit more from a run in NXT, Mustafa Ali or John Morrison? I mean, one guy is a leader of a faction. The other guy is a sidekick. If it was, Steve, send somebody to NXT, you choose between these two guys. It's Morrison. It is. I mean, could you imagine Morrison in takeover matches? That'd be great.
Yeah, in there with Gargano or Ciampa or whomever.
That'd be great.
Haha Jackson with some bits. It says Orton punting Huskus was totally a reference to Orton punting Husky Harris, right?
Husky Harris, yeah, probably.
I thought Orton's performance in the Funhouse was a lot of fun.
I thought it was good. I thought
Pretty
they could have gone the way where he gets in a sweater and a collared shirt and does his own version of it. But I kind of like it's just hoodie Randy Orton rolling around punting.
It's either hoodie and basketball shorts or ring gear. There's really nothing else,
Yeah, it's
but
funny.
Almost,
late career Orton has found a hoodie version of himself.
I know, but like this, I don't know, like stream of consciousness delivery he had for everything. Like you'd see something and he saw Huskus and it was believable that the thought occurred to him at that moment just to go kick him.
Yeah, right.
That it wasn't planned. Like from performance aspect, it was very convincing.
Even he looks over at Abby and he giggles.
Yeah,
that was good.
It's like a little moment. It's great. It was great. Enforcer says Ricochet should start a faction and call it Distribution.
That's good. He should start be import-export business. Let's see here. Well, Eddie Brock's Venom just wants to know how our Christmas was.
Oh, thank you. That was
Thank
nice.
you, Eddie Brock's
Very
Venom.
quiet.
It was very nice. It was a lovely Christmas.
Very quiet. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. Hope yours was good as well. Brew Crew Bomber. I missed part of the pre-recorded chat. Is Steve quitting watching Raw? To be determined. He's back still on an interim basis.
Yeah, I came back. I quit during the pre-show, and then I came back as interim co-host of the Raw recap for Going in Raw. I'm still full host of everything else, co-owner, but interim host of this show. Alex Foster with how crazy and violent 2020 has been in the WWE, assuming means men being lit on fire, whatnot. Am I at all wrong for believing we could see Drew stab somebody with that sword? If this was like June and he had that sword, it's possible to have seen somebody get impaled with it on the Money in the Bank rooftop.
Yeah, but then again, if all those reports about USA wanting a more adult, dark, violent show,
Still could happen.
Oops, sorry says it'd be cool if Scrap Iron went over the rules with Miz cashing game with the rest during a backstage segment, so he doesn't get messed up doing it again. I think it'd be good for me just to understand under what ground rules WWE is operating with this briefcase.
It's a sketchbook. They're ground rules.
I know, and it's frustrating. If you want me to buy into your world you're creating, then you got to have rules, and you got to be consistent with those rules. Mm-hmm. And when I understand you can make all sorts of, you can rationalize it any way you want, but if Scrap Iron says the rule is whoever holds the briefcase has to be the one to cash in, and then I go and look at Brock Lesnar's cash in, and Paul Heyman is the one who physically gave the briefcase to the ref. Yes, I know he's the manager, his advocate, has his proxy. I get all that. Morrison more or less does for the Miz too in this situation. He's going there at the Miz's behest to cash in.
Yeah. Dan Barber, if Ricochet joins Retribution, do you think the story is going to be that he turned heel like Cedric, or will it be like when Cena was in the Nexus, like an unwilling face in an otherwise heel faction? Maybe that's the most likely way it's going to go, is that there's going to be some sort of ultimatum thing where Ricochet says, hey, listen, one more match, and if I win, I'm done with you guys. Leave me alone.
But if I lose, then I join, yeah.
Did he do the same thing with Her
Business?
Her Business? Did he do that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That'll be his thing. Versus factions. Then it has to end in an ultimatum match.
Rattleheaded. The first Raw I ever saw started with the Miz TV. It wasn't a good introduction.
I'm sorry.
Surprised you ever stuck around, man.
Run away. Run away. Go watch Impact. Church Jackson. Why didn't Randy just burn down the funhouse? It would have been fun to see the puppets
Seth already did
burned to death. Yeah, Seth did that. He did that.
Seth already did it. I like that he went there and kicked Huskus and just kind of tossed things around a little bit. And I thought that
he would have burnt up the piece of art that he liked.
Yes,
of him burning down a house.
He did appreciate that. I like that.
He
that
did,
detail.
yeah, exactly.
Jorge D, what is something that everyone looks stupid doing in wrestling?
Something everybody looks stupid doing in wrestling.
I mean, so much of the enterprise pro wrestling is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like pro wrestling, like them doing pro wrestling. They kind of look stupid, throwing punches. Like, I don't know. I guess when it's like when the worked punches are not that terrific and you can totally tell that they're fake, they kind of look silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Bruza21 says, "Hey, Steve and/or Larson. Hello."
Hi. Hello. This is a tough one. I don't know if I have an answer to this. I really don't.
All right.
And I'm not joking here. Moses opposes. He says, what is your limit for separation between art and artist? He says, for example, I can't stand Riker, but don't feel the same about Riddle, although many people do, which is fair. So they've both had a bit of extra, we always call them diplomatically, extracurricular activities on the outside. And I don't know that I have a good answer to that question.
No, I don't either. I think it's one of those things that's individual by individual. You can get different answers.
It's not something that, I mean, you know, when I see both these guys, you know, to varying degrees, and I won't really go into too much detail about that, but like, yeah, the bloom came off. I mean, I was a huge Matt Riddle fan, and the bloom came off a bit, you know, it did.
Yeah.
Jackson Riker, I was always a fan of making fun of him. And then when I got to understand seemingly what he believes in, I'd like to make fun of him even more. Just kind of to the point where I don't really want to see him on my TV. Like, he'll always look like that guy to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and not review stuff and not. I don't know. It's not an easy thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not. I don't know.
I mean, I know everybody has their own, like you said, it's up to the individual, and I'm sure plenty of comments we'll start trying to get into the nitty gritty of things, and I have no interest in debating that stuff with anybody.
No, it's a subjective thing where people have their opinions about things, and that's that, you know. The debating it's not going to accomplish much.
Yeah, exactly.
Rattleheaded, break up Miz and Morrison, bring Taya Valkyrie to WWE. Your contract's up soon, right?
I don't know her specifically. I think probably.
I thought I read somewhere that her contract was up.
That sounds familiar. The Rain Trigger says, what homage to Brody or Luke Harper would you like to see in the Firefly Funhouse? I don't know if, I don't know if that's something that would be appropriate for placement in the Firefly Funhouse. You know, I mean, it's whatever Bray Wyatt, if he does decide to pay homage as part of the story, I'm sure he'll be classy about it. But, you know, that's entirely up to him. I don't know that he'd feel comfortable doing that within the context of the Fiend character. It's kind of an out there character to do that.
Yeah. Scooter says, can I have a share of the podcast, much like how Sinclair is getting a share of Bally's, considering that the Fox Sports regional networks are being rebranded to Bally's starting next year?
Bally's,
like the casino?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Really? Well, I mean, if you make an offer, and it's a solid offer, we'll consider it.
Substantial.
Substantial dog authority figure. It always bugs me how people just declare that they're entering the Rumble. How would you change this? Qualifiers or something else? There's too many spots to do qualifiers. Well, I guess there's not. They got a big roster.
30 qualifying matches.
So you need to have bona fides.
There'd be entire episodes of Raw.
Yeah, you do need your bona fides.
Yeah,
you gotta
I think
have...
it should be like the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. You're a former champion in any degree. You can just declare.
You can declare. Yeah,
you have membership to the Rumble Club. You can declare and you can be in it.
Yeah. I mean, who's gonna say Bob Lashley shouldn't be in the Rumble?
I know. You just tell Daniel Bryan no. Of course you're not.
Who's gonna tell him no?
So former champions, they're in the club. If they want in, they're in. I think that's fair. White Brownie, should Asuka and Charlotte be booked like the 2-man power trip? They had all the belts at one point, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
maybe if there was a women's mid-card title that for right now Charlotte could have, then maybe. But since there's not, Charlotte's not content just to be tag champ, you know?
Yeah. This is a good question here. The Amazing Cole 87 says, would it have been a better storyline for them to have Miz win the title at TLC and then do the storyline where he's not really the champion? They pull the title off him because Morrison cashed in for Miz. Therefore, he was not a true participant. Would that have been lamer than what happened here? I feel like that would have been lamer.
It might have been lamer, but it might also have been more satisfying.
and they go over, they're like, not only are you not champion, you're fired.
Yeah.
So you're not even here anymore. He's like, what?
Breach of contract. It says right here in this.
Breach of Money in the Bank contract.
Joe Juarez, has this been the worst year for the treatment of the Money in the Bank? I don't know. When Sandow had it, that was pretty bad.
When Sandow lost it, that was pretty bad. When Jack Thwagger had it, I don't think anybody cared.
But at least he successfully cashed it, you know? They still treated the institution of Money in the Bank well, you know?
Yeah. Braun's when Braun had it.
Yeah, he just declared. He just said, I'm gonna face you in a cage match.
I think when Braun had it, it sort of maybe jumped the shark.
It did.
Although when Brock got it back, it was great because he'd do the
boombox thing. Yeah,
boombox. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh man, great question from Church Jackson. What are your favorite season cliffhangers to TV shows?
Wow.
Lost always had really good cliffhangers, and then had that really crappy season, but their cliffhangers were solid as hell.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. Who Shot Mr. Burns?
Classic. I know you're not a Breaking Bad guy.
I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but when there is a pivotal moment in a later season when one of the main characters discovers the secret life of Walter White, and it's like,
yeah.
When Star Trek went to Mark Twain's time.
Yeah. The 2-part Keith Hernandez Seinfeld.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Classic cliffhanger.
Yes. Dr. Lipkin, what if Miz cashed in and then Morrison gave him a low blow as soon as the bell rung? Miz wins by DQ, but no title and no rematch. Well, if he'd done that at TLC, it wouldn't have been a DQ because it was a TLC match. The better
Seinfeld cliffhanger is when George's wife died from the envelopes.
Yes.
That was a killer cliffhanger.
That was good.
Because they just leave the hospital. They're like, yeah, you want to go to the cafe? Okay.
They just all shrug and leave.
Yeah.
Zoe Kinrana, my favorite part of the show is Lashley saying he'd win next year's Rumble to main event this year's Mania.
Oh, Lashley. You know, I've seen him very comfortable on the mic before. I've seen him. Just not recently. I don't know what the deal with that is. I know. I'm going to win next year's Rumble. Or win this year's Rumble to win next year's WrestleMania.
Seed Hawk, I think I just want to say Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Rosie Knight says, don't forget to go vote in the Texxy Awards. We're up for a major award.
Yeah, totally forgot to mention that at the end of the show. We are up for 2 awards. Best YouTube content creators on YouTube Wrestling and best podcast, I think. So we'll put a link in the description. I'll put that big bold in the description. I want to win this, man.
I know you do.
I want to win this. I want to crush everybody else. I don't care how nice they are.
Wow.
Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Go vote. We'll put the link in the description. I'm going to tell everybody here in Twitch chat to go vote. I'm going to put the link up here now.
All right, very well.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Twitch chat, stick around. We're going to make you vote.
Goodbye.
Help support Going In Raw today by becoming a Friendo Club TV member. You'll get access to new bonus episodes every week, including Friendo Club Arcade, Live Power Rank, Vintage 10 for the Wins, and Ask Steven Larson. Get access to Friendo Club TV today by becoming a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/Steven Larson, by throwing us a sub at twitch.tv/Steven Larson, or by clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson.